All right. Welcome everyone to the first Tableland Town Hall of 2023. We are at 5.2.1 and like always, we're going to blast through a ton of updates here from the team and open up for some Q&A at the end. So I'm going to just pass off to Andrew, who's going to give a quick overview of what's been going on in Tableland, and we'll start the town hall.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks, Brian. I like to always start off the town halls by just reminding everybody what the broad landscape of Tableland is. So, at Tableland, especially if this is your first town hall or just curious what the project is up to, at Tableland, we're building a protocol that allows for Web3 developers to store and manipulate data on a permissionless database. And so that database right now runs on a handful of different EVM networks, including Ethereum, Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, and a bunch of test nets. In addition to the core protocol, we build a community NFT called Rigs that you can find on OpenSea. And if you own one, you can join our gated channels and a really awesome community of people that are sort of bridging this collector sort of NFT enthusiasts and also interested in the sort of deeper assembly of Web3 and crypto and what we're all building. And they collaborate with us and give us really awesome ideas. And we're trying to build a really cool experience for them. We've been up to a lot of things lately, and so this week is what we're calling launch week, and we're just pushing out a bunch of different updates to the protocol, updates for rig owners, and just some really exciting pieces of technology. And we're going to go over a lot of that today. We whipped up a little agenda for today, and I didn't get that out into the public docs in time, but I will when somebody else is on the mic, I will try to get that moved over and share everybody a link so you can follow along. If you're curious about, you know, just top of the call, how you can get involved and what you should be listening for, there's a bunch of different things that we're up to in the community and on the protocol that you can jump into. And so I just wanted to call those out so that if you leave or just want to play this in the background and then listen to the parts that are going to be relevant for you. I wanted to point out last week we launched our first what we're calling working group right now, and these are meant to be much deeper collaborations with a broader community outside of our core team. And this working group, the first working group, is called the Data Working Group. And in our first meeting, we sort of outlined a bunch of different areas where this group could work, including collaborating on bringing critical data sets into Tableland that people could build on top of, building new sort of workflows and tooling, creating sort of new experiments. And we actually decided as a group that we wanted to collaborate on an external hackathon put on by the Open Data Working Group or Open Data Community. So we'll share more about that below if that's the sort of thing you're interested in. It's for people that might be deep technical, might be sort of data nerds, just interested in playing with data visualization, things like that, or other ways that you can contribute. So not meant to be very hard for you to jump in. So pay attention later for that. There's a bunch of things going on with rigs and the garage. We're going to outline a number of updates that have been pushed there that hopefully you'll find interesting, and we'll give you some kind of clues of where this is all going. But make sure you're piloting your rig. Pilot program is about to kick off cohort 3. So we'll share a bunch of details about that. But if you are an entrepreneur building your project, make sure you pay attention to that section and either apply to pilot program or share the program with your peers. They have about a day left to apply, but it takes like 2-3 minutes. So, but we'll have some updates on that. Brian's been running table raises for a while, and he's been kicking that off again first Wednesday of every month if you want to build your first table on Tableland, the protocol, and just learn what's going on there. Kind of low bar to understand what you can do with the protocol. Worth calling out that Dan's running office hours for developers here on the call or that are watching the video, and those are happening every week here in Discord. So check out our events calendar for that. And then finally, we'll talk more about this later on, but we're going to be at ETH Denver's Biddle Week in a pretty big way, and at the main event as well. So pay attention for that. And then lastly, if you're going to leave this call but want to follow what we're up to, there's sort of three ways now. So first, we have a YouTube channel, and we'll share that link in the agenda today. You can subscribe to that channel, and I've been personally trying to put out some good content there. We have our Twitter handle, which is sort of the main feed for the community, and then finally, I polled the community the other day about the interest in a newsletter, and it seemed like of the respondents, very small number of respondents, but upwards of like 50%, I think, were interested in a newsletter as a way to subscribe to periodic updates from us. And so I want to kick that off. And the first thing I want to do is if you're interested in what we're up to at ETH Denver, go ahead and subscribe to the newsletter. And the first thing that we'll share out of there is confirmation of what we're doing at Biddle Week and the agenda and how to get involved, just so you don't miss that. The newsletter's not set up yet, so I just have a typed form to drop your email in, and we'll share that link. Again, once I hand off the mic, I'll get those links all out. That's sort of the TLDR on everything you can listen to and ways you can follow us. But now let's jump into all the things coming out in launch week and across the community and growth.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks, Andrew. So we'll pass it over to Carson now to give some updates on launch week.
Cool, and I might tag Dan a little bit here too, just because Dan is the masters of ceremonies for a lot of the launch week stuff. But hi everybody, welcome to launch week, or towards the end of launch week, really. So you can check out the launch week overview at the link that Dan posted, which we'll post into the general chat so you can follow the links. There's a big overview, but the TLDR there is really we are upgrading the network. That means everything from the validator and the low-level APIs right up to our SQL language that we support and our SQL specification, all the way up to our front-end libraries and the SDK and the CLI. So the whole sort of stack, if you will, of Tableland has been updated and upgraded. There's a bunch of fixes in there. There's a bunch of new features. There's a bunch of changes, and we have been putting out at least one blog post every day this week that describes what these changes look like and what they mean for developers, what they mean for validators, and what they mean for users. So you can pick and choose which of those blog posts you wrote, but honestly, I spent a lot of time writing some of these blog posts, so I'd really appreciate it if you just read them. But there's some interesting ones in there that are kind of fun about floating point math and why that's hard for blockchains. There's a whole post about why we're doing this testnet mainnet split or separation, so why we're doing this major upgrade. Some of the sort of thinking behind the SDK API changes, the thinking behind our validator API changes. And I can give you a quick overview of what the thinking is. Really, it's all about making the lives of our developers easier. That means simpler APIs, fewer APIs, and sort of one way to do the right thing. And I think it's going to make the whole dev process a lot easier. There are some upgrades and changes that folks will have to do. The biggest and most important one that's happening today is that we are swapping over the DNS routing for how you interact with testnet and mainnet validators. So these are the validators or the Tableland network that is operating on mainnet chains like Ethereum mainnet, Polygon, Optimism, blah, 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 and the testnet changes. So like Ethereum Goerli, Polygon Mumbai, Optimism, Goerli, et cetera, et cetera. So these networks are effectively being separated into two distinct groups of chains. And so some users will have to update the endpoints. So if you were calling testnet.tableland.network directly, you'll have to update now to testnets, plural, or you will start to target the mainnet ones. And all you have to do, and you don't have to change anything else, is just update to the latest patch release of our SDK if you were using the SDK. We've taken care of everything else, so if you just do that, you'll point to the right place, everything will work as planned. You are also encouraged to check out our new SDK, which is the version 4 branch. And that has a whole new API that is designed to be much simpler. And we've learned a lot from borrowing ideas and APIs and tools from a bunch of work that Cloudflare has done around their D1 database offering. So I highly recommend you check that out. But you don't have to upgrade today. You can upgrade over the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks as your app development schedule permits. And I highly recommend that you do that. So check that out. There's a whole blog post about the new Tableland SDK. And then we also released a blog post about tools and tips for upgrading from our v3 branch to our v4 branch. So if you are a Tableland SDK user, read those two at the very least. We have also released a new CLI, which has a bunch of really nice features, including a dynamic interactive console. This is super cool. We're publishing the blog post for that one today. And this basically lets you have an interactive shell that allows you to query and mutate and change things on the Tableland network without having to do single CLI calls. So it feels a lot more like a SQLite type interface. So check that out as well. And then for those of you who are either running validators or are targeting our smart contract API calls directly, or are just doing some more sort of like low-level interactions, we have also updated the core APIs on our validators. So there's a new validator API, and it's pared down quite a bit to just kind of do what you need and nothing else. There's some changes to our SQL spec, and so this one's kind of a big one. And we took some things away, right? So we don't support floating point numbers anymore. Maybe that's a bummer, although we did do quite a lot of research and not a lot of people were leveraging that. But we added a bunch of features too. So, we took things away, but we added things. So the SQL specification is much more broad. You can do way more types of joins. You can actually include sub-select queries inside of certain mutations. So like inserts. You can, well, I can't even remember all the stuff, but we have a blog post about that as well. So check out that blog post. We'll include all these links in forms that people can just click through and check out. So all of that stuff has been documented. It's ready to go. And it should be a lot of fun. I think the updates are going to make everybody's lives a lot simpler, a lot easier, and a lot more efficient and productive in terms of interacting with the Tableland network. And Dan, I'm going to ping you now to make sure I haven't forgotten anything, because that's a lot.
I think you actually covered everything. And just keep in mind that we'll be continually adding to the docs. So as you run into any sort of issues or looking for things that aren't answered there, just feel free to drop it in developer chat. You can tag me at DTV. And there's already some things that, based on some feedback from people that have started down that process, just things that we can definitely add to make that experience even easier than it already is. So again, just let me know if you have any troubles as you upgrade to the SDK, but everyone should try it out as soon as possible. It's a great upgrade and awesome to work with already as compared to the V3 and earlier versions.
Right on. Thanks, Dan. Okay, so that's going to be, I'm going to pause there, and then I think Alan wants to share some cool updates on the Tableland NFT front. This is actually super cool. So take it away, Alan. I think people will kind of get a kick out of this.
Yeah, so on the Tableland NFT, the one that you get when you create a table. So before we had an NFT that would kind of give you a little bit of information about the table, your columns, number of rows, which chain you're on. But now, if you visit OpenSea and you visit your table, is there a way to easily share out a link on here? So yeah, but on the OpenSea tables, you now have a whenever you visit the tables page, the singular one, not the one for the collection, you actually can interact with the table. So you can do dynamic queries. Let's see.
Which
I'd really love
link do
to.
you want to share? Oh, looks
I
like
was just gonna,
oh no, go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna share the link to a the top video games table on Ethereum mainnet. So the OpenSea link. Oh, I love the file. Um, there you go. And the just, I mean, the best thing that I can say is just visit it. If you're comfortable with SQL, write your own read queries. So right now we don't have to support write queries because we can't connect to your wallet because for security reasons, they don't necessarily want us running, uh, having you sign transactions in there. So it's for good reason. But if you want to do write queries, you can visit our console.tableland.xyz where we have uh, a full kind of console by which you can edit things. But here you can read things and it'll first pop up and it'll show you your table. And it really kind of, I think, in a great way gets across the idea that these are, yes, they're NFTs, and what we're building on them is databases. So it's something I'm really excited about. And if you've seen it, just let us know what you think. Hand it off to, I don't know,
Oh,
Carson.
I wanted to say I have been using the NFT all the time. Like when I've been building examples, it's just such a handy way um, to like push a table and then go look at it and validate, like just visually verify that you got what you were trying to do. And then when you start inserting data, you can just go look at it and run the query and see what's in there. And that's been super handy building examples where the smart contract is the one um, generating a table or populating it with data. Like sometimes you just want to like see what's possible. So like um, that file system link I just shared, or I had a workshop on game state management. You just want to see that like transactions you're making against a smart contract are changing the data the way that you intended prior to writing tests or anything like that. So it's been super handy. Really, really liking it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's for those larger tables, you can, I mean, it doesn't just show you the table, it gives you an opportunity to write your own query. So you can say, let me see where, the genre is strategy or the year is whatever, or, do any sort of query that you'd like.
Yeah, one thing that's actually pretty interesting is I don't know if there's a fix for this, but when I've been doing a lot of these workflows, I'll actually try to, yeah, here's a good example. So basically what happens is a common workflow that I've been doing is like, oh, I write a smart contract and then I want that smart contract to own a database table or set of tables. So I either add to the constructor or the init function a call to the Tableland registry to create a table. So what happens there is the table is generated and then the token, the NFT for that table is transferred to the contract. So the contract now owns that NFT. And so it's really nice is you can see right in the transaction data. So I'll go ahead and share this in general too. You can see in the transaction data all the tables that were generated in that transaction. So here, if you look at the tokens transferred, this is from the transaction that I called when I called an init function on some contract. I don't even remember what contract this is. And you can see that it generated 4 different tables. And those have token IDs. So then I could go to, say, OpenSea and look at this Tableland tables list and find the table that was generated here. One thing, I don't know if it's possible or if anybody in our community knows the right way to surface this, but I'd love it if we could, like on Etherscan or Polygon Scan, click on those token IDs and find a way to navigate back to the visual representation of that token, or if we're doing something wrong here. So like if I click on any one of those tables, it'll say, oh yeah, that's token ID 5311, which I know is that table ID. but I can't use the console in Polygon Scan, so I need a way to navigate back to that app. And I don't know if there's an easy path to that besides going to the contract, querying, getting the URL, doing it. But anyway, just flagging that comment. It's been awesome in the workflow. A couple little things that could make it really seamless, but I don't know if there's obvious fixes for that.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, let us know, anyone, if you have any updates on how we might be able to integrate that. And thanks to everyone on the Tableland team that's been crushing the work and everything that's gone into launch week. It's been a huge lift. So moving along to community updates, we've got some exciting things happening in the pilot program. So DTB, if you want to come back to the mic.
Awesome. So we have the pilot program kicking off on Monday, so the 23rd. And with that, there will be a kickoff event. So that starts at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And I just wanted to note that because what we're doing this time around is really opening up parts of the program to the community as a whole. So anyone can actually join and listen in on the program itself. We're going to have the weekly calls every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific as well, where you can kind of like build in parallel if you would like, but the actual team selection and funding, that will be finalized at the end of this week. So tomorrow we'll have all the final selections made. We'll be announcing everything on Twitter and also here in Discord. So keep an eye out for that. And if you are interested in building for Pilot Program 3, you have basically end of day today, early tomorrow to actually submit your application. But then just keep in mind, like the Pilot Program is a rolling program that we're running because this is the third iteration. We're going to have 4, 5, 6, etc. So if you are interested and maybe this timeline doesn't work out, feel free to also apply for future cohorts. That application is always open. So looking forward even to Pilot Program 4 and beyond. As far as logistics, I think we touched on that. And note that the Monday kickoff event will also have some chairs that will be presenting. And I think Marla will dive into that in a little bit more detail and just like what are these chairs and how do they interact with the program, because it's a new theme that we have this time around.
Actually, I had a question for you. Maybe the people would be people listening would be interested too. Have you been seeing any strong themes popping up in applications or like areas developers are excited to build?
Mm-hmm. I think the majority of the applications are NFT related. So there are a few collections. There are some that just relate to NFTs as like a piece of infrastructure, like SBTs. There's an SBT project. And then there are a couple that are more on just Web3. How do I phrase them? Maybe like protocols or technology. So yeah, I think Web3 technology could be a good way to describe it, where like Tableland is incorporated in their like stack in some capacity as maybe a deployment option or just related to like this tooling that they're building out. So just like Web3 tooling is a good way to categorize it. So NFTs or NFT related types of projects or tooling related to Web3 in general.
Should I jump in, Dan?
Yeah, Marla, if you want to just share about the chairs, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're super excited about chairs. So basically we've just been looking to find ways that we can go a little bit deeper with some of our ecosystem partners and just adjacent technologies that we're seeing teams building with Tableland, also building with these other players in the space. And so we introduced this concept of chairs where we're essentially looking for teams that are building use cases across Tableland and some other partner use case. And so we're super excited. We have Filecoin on board as a chair in the next pilot program cohort. We also have Toucan. And essentially, for a team to qualify for the chair, they just have to be using their technology as well as Tableland technology in the project that they're building. And then we'll come together and decide on which team is the best fit. And that team will receive matched funding from that ecosystem partner. So that's a match on the 5K that Tableland puts up for any team participating. And it's also cool because obviously we're starting to work closer to find more ways to get teams exposure and eyeballs on their projects as they build through the pilot program. And then we're also exploring sort of paths to funding, whether it be grants, whether it be sort of continuity funds from accelerator programs via these ecosystems as well. And so we'll help teams navigate that as they sort of finish the pilot program and are looking towards their next stage of growth for their project. So really excited about the possibilities. So any teams that are building with Toucan infrastructure or any teams that are building with Filecoin or IPFS can apply for those chairs. And we also have announced a rigs chair. And so you guys have probably heard us talk a lot about composability and how Tableland really enables NFT projects to build in a way that allows other ecosystems or community members or teams to build on top of an NFT. We really want to see that sort of come to fruition through rigs. So if there are teams that are looking at ways to extend the utility or build on top of rigs, then we're also offering up a chair position there where we'll match the funding of the 5K for a team that is going to be doing that. So really pumped for that. We'll continue to work with folks in Web3 that are complementary on future initiatives, but definitely if you haven't applied yet and you have some ideas for this, definitely we encourage you to apply and we're excited to see what teams come up with.
Yeah, awesome. The pilot program's been so amazing, and we're excited to open up even more. Last cohort, we had the channel publicly available, so everyone could kind of see what the chatter was with the group. And this cohort will be opening up the weekly calls will be on the Mesa, so anyone can tune in there as well. So other events going on. So Andrew mentioned we'll be at ETH Denver. There'll be a solid Tableland contingent there. We're going to be hosting an event with Filecoin, and so that will be on February 28th, and we'll have kind of like a half day where there'll be a number of different presentations and demos and a few partners that'll be coming through. So the link that was shared in general to the agenda, and we'll make sure this goes out again and to the type form. If you have any interest in meeting up with us in ETH Denver, we'll keep you posted on where and when those times will be. But definitely we look forward to seeing some of you there, and we've spoken to a few of you that will be there, so we're looking forward to that. And then as far as virtual events go, so we kicked off a new live stream series at the end of 2022. We had a couple events. One was on Web3 gaming and the other on technology for community. Our next one is coming up February 3rd, and it will be focused on art in the virtual and how Web3 is enabling new experiences for artists and their fans. And that's something we're going to be doing the first Friday of each month. So stay tuned for that. And of course, those recordings are on our Tableland YouTube channel, so you can check that out if you missed it live. There's also been a number of workshops that went up. We've been doing some streaming of those as well, where we'll be in the Mesa and get to kind of tune in together. And those recordings are as well on YouTube. And there's going to be a builder series that Dan is booting up. Yeah, Dan, do you want to mention anything about the upcoming builder series?
Sure. So I think like the gist of it is that we want to really tackle two things. Like one is showing people how to build with Tableland. So very specific around using the SDK or even using like other protocols with Tableland. So just like general workshops. And then we also want to just help the community learn about other projects in the space. And these may or may not be involved with Tableland in any capacity. So there's one that we'll be announcing soon, I think in a couple of weeks, but it'll be geared towards actually people that aren't as technical in nature and want to learn about SQL and even just analytics as a whole, specific to NFTs. So we're going to bring in this, assuming everything goes well, we're going to bring in one of the community showcase. We're calling it the community showcase. We're going to bring in someone from the community to basically run a small workshop, assuming no technical knowledge. How do you query for data around NFTs? How do you learn trends around NFTs using this project's platform? And they also have ways in which you can even write SQL within their solution. So more to come on that. But if you are interested or know of any projects that you would just like to learn a little bit more about, we're going to be doing this community showcase. The plan is once a month. And this first one will be on February 16th, tentatively. Again, more details will come out there, but let Brian or I know. I'm DTB if you are interested or know of any projects. And as always, like the best way to probably do that is either post somewhere, tag us, or we have that contact team channel where you can open a ticket and have things in more of like a private type of DM situation within our actual Discord itself.
Yeah, awesome. Sweet. Well, next up, yeah, Andrew, if you want to share a little bit more on the data working group, we mentioned it at the top, but it's been something that is really exciting. Our next one's coming up later this afternoon. But yeah, if you want to just give us the deeper cuts of what's going on there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I mentioned, working groups are areas where we're hoping to collaborate more with just broader community and come up with really cool outputs. And we have a few different working groups that we're considering, but the first one out of the gates is the data working group. And like I mentioned before, we kind of had a few different areas where we thought that this group could be really effective. And those were, creating more learning resources, actually building new tooling, smart contracts, different types of CLIs for data specific workflows, like importing or connecting data sets into Tableland so that people could build cool things. Working on standards and thinking about ways that we could build better interoperable data across the ecosystem, or just building stuff together. And given it was our first meeting all together, I think we just kind of all quickly gravitated towards that idea of like, let's just try to build something together as a first sort of like get our hands dirty on collaboration and things like that. And there's a pretty cool external hackathon going on called the Open Data Community Hackathon. The Open Data Community was, I don't know how to say it, maybe instigated by the Gitcoin team, but is independent. And so they're running a hackathon on Gitcoin. And there's one in particular around building tooling for algorithm Legos. And so they have a number of algorithms they use at Gitcoin for Sybil resistance, and they want to turn those into open workflows and ways that other community projects can leverage them. And so we wanted to look at that. We have some plans for how to do it. If you take a look at today's roadmap notes, there's a link in this section to a rough outline of what we might do. Like I said, there's a handful of us that want to try for that. And so we're going to meet today at 2:30 Pacific and just go over what we might take as sort of the MVP there and what we could build, probably largely over the weekend. It'll be small, I bet, but it'll be a fun first experiment. So if you're interested in this sort of thing, definitely get involved. No requirement for technical skills, actually more just people that are psyched about data and open data and what we might do with interoperable or composable data and things like that. So lots of opportunity there, no set direction, so get involved.
Awesome. Alrighty, well, coming around the corner to the rigs updates. So there's been a lot of updates since our last town hall, including the main launch of pilots. So I'm sure most of you have probably seen this by now. We've had, I think we're well over 1,200 rigs that are now being piloted, or at least in flight. So this is a process kind of called soft staking, where the rigs are basically kind of extending on the lore of kind of these sentient machines. They're getting trained to be able to take on a new sentient pilot. Um, and they have a training period, which is around 30 days. And then after that, you can now bring any ERC 721 NFT you own into your rig to pilot your rig. And that's activating this flight time rewards feature that we're going to be exploring a lot more in different ways that we can kind of uh, encourage community participation in different events and different things that we'll be launching. So yeah, it's been really exciting to see all these different pilots that are now, uh, live on their rigs, and we've had a lot of really great communities that are. There's a leaderboard as well, so you can see all the different communities that have been kind of populating the rigs, and been really exciting to see. I think we've got, yeah, if I take a look right now at who's leading, we've got the Timeless collection has 41 pilots that are piloting a rig. And then, of course, the drivers have been a huge collab with us, and they've got 37 pilots. And we've also got a lot of Moonbirds as well. So, really cool to see just these other NFT communities being integrated with rigs and calculating these different flight time rewards as it relates to who's been in the air with the rig, who's been flying for the longest. So a lot more coming on that front, but it's been really cool to see those features activated. Um, and some other updates with the garage. So the garage is now open. You don't need to have to own a rig to get into the garage. So now anyone is able to kind of see the leaderboard, see what's going on there. And so that's been really cool. And it's also very mobile friendly now. So there's been some new updates. So you can actually check out the garage on your phones. And there's been some updates to the rigs pages and the owner profile pages, just kind of making everything super easy to navigate and really just continuing to fine tune that whole experience. So take a look at the garage when you get a chance. And it's been really exciting to see just all the ideas that are coming forward around that. We had a really cool internal meeting yesterday and just a lot of interesting and fun things that we're planning on there. And so we're excited to share that with you all. And yeah, that's kind of the wrap on the agenda for the day. And we always like to kind of open it up at the end, see if there's any questions. So we'll kind of open the floor. If there's anyone here that wants to share anything or ask any questions, please feel free to jump on the mic. Anyone here going to be at ETH Denver?
Yes.
I see Zodpox is here. Hopefully we'll see you later today for the working group. Yeah, thumbs up. Awesome. Cool. Well, I know we're all very busy and we like to kind of fly through all these updates and let you go on your way, but we really appreciate you coming through and appreciate you being here live. And for those watching on YouTube, hat tip to you as well. We will be in touch and see you in Discord, and appreciate you all spending your time and hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Alrighty. Cheers.